So in week 1 of my action plan, the first drill will be a hand-fed balls on the baseline to the player's non-dominant forehand. The hand position will be at the top of the bracket, where it will be during a normal backhand, and the performer will have a semi-open stance. The performer should have a bend in the knees, the eyes on the ball, contact point in front of the body, rotation in the hips and trunk, and follow through past the shoulder. Doing this drill because it's important to start activating the left-hand side of the body to increase power output. Drill 2, this will be progressed onto balls fed in the shape of a T. One ball will be fed out wide, which means the performer has to plant their weight on the outside foot and increase hip rotation. One will be fed behind, meaning the performer has to plant their weight on their back foot and transfer onto their front foot. And one will be fed short, so they have to attack the ball, generating more racket head speed. For this skill, the performer is in the cognitive stage of learning, which means that they have the correct mental image of what the skill should look like, and the skill is not rude. Therefore, visual guidance will be used, and if the demonstration is effective, they will be able to apply Bandura's observational learning theory to apply retention to the demonstration, and therefore be able to improve its skill. Fixed practice is being used in drill 1 to allow the skill to be grooved in a closed environment, which means the same stimulus will be given each time, so they can create a mental image of what the skill should look like, and also gain confidence in their technique before moving on to varied practices. Bilateral transfer will take place from the dominant forehand to the weaker side because the cognitive aspects of the skill are the same and the motor program is transferred. This will increase the speed of the learning of the skill. Week 2, drill 1, the progression from week 1, performer will now perform the same drill but the right hand now at the base of the grip, V grip, to add support and control. So this will now be a normal backhand grip. Racket fed balls, teaching points are the same, butt of the racket should be facing the coach during take back and grip should be loose. Contact point in front of the body. This will be progressed into the balls fed in the T shape again, but obviously this time using both hands like a normal backhand. But this time the player will try and apply topspin to the ball by aiming to hit the top of the ball, by getting the performer to be comfortable in the 3 different areas, out wide, 1 deep, 1 short, will allow them to deal with all types of shots from their opponent in a match and therefore be able to counter-attack and win more points. Mass practice is being used in drill 1 because Thorndike's law of exercise states the more frequently a stimulus and response are associated with each other, the more likely the particular response will follow the stimulus, therefore the correct response will follow during a match. Positive feedback will be used to increase the confidence of the performer and also increase the chances of positive reinforcement. Creating angular motion and topspin by applying an eccentric force above the centre of mass will allow the performer to have a greater margin of error because they'll be able to hit the ball harder and therefore have a more effective shot. The bouncer will be faster and higher and consequently making it more difficult for the opponent. Week 3, drill 1, the performer will be fed 1 high ball followed by 1 low ball. When the low ball is fed, the performer will have to bend knees and get low to make sure they can brush the back of the ball to maintain topspin. When a high ball is fed, the performer will move back and let the ball drop to waist height before making contact with the ball. Drill 2 will be progressed. The performer will be hand fed 1 low ball and then move forward and hit 1 high ball without letting it bounce. The performer will be shown a video of what the skill looks like to help build a mental image. This will encourage the performer to move forward after shot and also practice generating high racket speeds to generate enough topspin to keep the ball in play. This shot will take time away from the opponent and put the shot under pressure, and therefore a weaker shot is more likely. Varied practice being used to make the practice more game specific and less boring. This will maintain the motivation of the performer. Mechanical guidance in the form of a video is used to help player build up a mental picture of what the skill should look like and how the player sets up the shot. According to Bandura's theory of self-efficacy, if we watch others of similar ability perform and succeed, then we are more likely to gain self-efficacy. So by watching the video of another player, they will be more confident at trying the skill and therefore learn quicker. Week 4, drill 1, players will be fed low balls and have to slice the ball cross court. Teaching points of the slice: the knee should be bent, the rotation of the torso should be a V grip of the hand, the head of the racket should be resting in the palm of the non-dominant hand, the contact point made with the bottom of the ball to create backspin, follow through up to the shoulder, and the racket should point in the direction of the motion. Drill 2, this will be progressed and there'll be fed a low ball which has to be sliced cross court, and then a high ball which they'll have to move back and hit a topspin backhand at waist height cross court. This replicates in gameplay as many opponents use different heights of the ball as a tactic, so this will allow the player to be able to effectively deal with it. There'll be targets in the final third of the court and in the corner of the cross court to give the player something to aim for, as this is where their shots will be most dangerous from the opponent. At the end of this week, the performer will complete a test to see how many backhands they can hit over the net into the final third of the court in a row. If the performer hasn't improved, this will show that reversibility has taken place and more sessions need to be added. This test will measure how well the skill is grooved and the consistency of the performer. Extrinsic feedback will be given because the coaching points may lead to improvement as long as the information is correct. The knowledge of result is important to the player as they need to know what the outcome of their performance was. Intrinsic feedback won't be used because this type of feedback may not lead to accurate interpretation as the player hasn't reached the autonomous stage of learning it and therefore may give the wrong feedback. Skinner's model of operant condition will be used because reinforcement increases the probability of a behaviour occurring. For example, in this case, every time the player hits the net, a punishment will occur to prevent this response occurring again, e.g. 3 push-ups. This will encourage the performer not to perform that response again. Testing occurs to make sure reversibility hasn't occurred and the principles of training have been followed. Week 5, this microcycle will focus on changing direction of the ball during play. In session 1, drill 1, the player will have to alternate slices down the line and cross court with 2 targets on either side to aim for. This will get the performer to think about the difference between setup to the shot and also allow them to change the direction of the ball with ease during a point, which will keep the opponent thinking. This will be progressed into drill 2, which will the player will be fed one ball out wide on the forehand side to hit down the line, and then they'll have to recover quickly across the court to reach the backhand out wide. This will force the player to think about their next shot and be quick with their feet to reach the ball in time. This drill will also simulate match scenarios and will make the player better at defending with their backhand and start to think about the layout of the point. Session 2, this session will be circuit training. It will target the legs and core of the performer, as these are the most important muscle groups in tennis. It will consist of 6 stations with no equipment needed, all bodyweight exercises. It will consist of the plank, the oblique twist, the bridge, the squat, the one-legged lunge and the sit-up. Teaching points of the squat is to make sure the knees don't go past the toes, the back is straight, core is tense, and they should lower down until the knees are at a 90-degree angle. Each station will last 30 seconds and the circuit will be completed 2 times. Now the player is training more than they used to, their energy expenditure will increase, which means energy intake needs to increase to balance this. Performer will increase their carbohydrate intake as they are used in the aerobic energy system, which supplies energy to the body during exercise. The player will need to increase protein levels to help build and repair muscle fibers that are torn during training and in the strength conditioning training. This will increase speed of recovery, which will allow them to train more often. By training at a moderate intensity of 65 to 75% of the player's maximum heart rate, they'll be targeting muscular endurance, which will increase their aerobic capacity and the efficiency of their respiratory and cardiovascular system. This will allow them to play for longer at a higher intensity in matches and therefore increase their chances of winning. The method of testing that will be used for strength endurance is the abdominal curl test because it's a valid and reliable test, and only simple equipment is needed, which means that it can be repeated more often to track progress. Circuit training is being used because it can be adapted to work muscular strength, muscular endurance or aerobic capacity, and a performer can work different parts of the body in one routine. It is also less tedious than normal gym exercises, and therefore the intrinsic motivation of the player is more likely to be sustained. Week 6, this microcycle will focus on putting different shots together in the same drill to try and replicate match scenarios. Drill 1, there'll be a sequence of 4 balls racket fed, one deep forehand cross court, then one short backhand down the line, then one deep backhand cross court ended by a short forehand. This drill replicates the movement patterns in a match and also will get the player comfortable from moving up and down the court whilst varying the direction and rate of spin on the ball, and therefore be confident to use this in a match. This will be progressed into the player trading shots with another player cross court on the backhand side, but the drill is conditioned because the player is only allowed to hit topspin. Session 2, this circuit training will be targeting muscular strength of the arms, chest, back and shoulders, as these groups are essential for power of the backhand and in the serve. It will consist of 7 stations of free weights, consist of bicep curls, bench press, chest flies, shoulder press, deadlift, tricep extension and seated row. There will be 8 reps each station, which will have the intensity of 80% of the 1 rep max. This circuit will be completed 2 times. Teaching point of a bench press, the feet are flat on the floor. They should inhale when lowering the bar should touch the chest, and exhale when lifting the bar. As Andy Murray is a successful Olympian that has won medals, It has meant participation in tennis has increased, and this is due to sport organisations such as Sport England funding clubs and coaches to help sustain and develop players at the bottom of the participation pyramid. Tennis is an open skill, so each situation is different. Therefore, varied practice has been used to let the players develop strategies to cope with the changing nature of the environment, which the performer will be able to draw from their long-term memory in a match. Free weights are being used because they are simple and very flexible to use, and less active muscles have to work as fixators, which not only build strength but also help maintain posture and alignment. Muscular strength is being targeted, so the performer will have a work-rest ratio of 1:3 between stations, which will allow the body to recover. Working at 80% of their 1 rep max to improve muscular strength by tearing muscle fibers. Players will need to increase protein levels to help build and repair muscles that are torn during the strength conditioning session. Week 7, this microcycle will focus on practicing in an open environment. Session 1, drill 1, the drill will be progressed from the previous week by doing the same sequence but twice through, so the player has to hit 8 shots in a row at high intensity. This will improve players' muscular endurance and is more realistic to game situations when points are longer. By rehearsing this pattern of shots, it is more likely to be transferred into long-term memory. Drill 2 will be progressed. The player will now play a conditioned tie break to 10 on the cross-court backhand, where they can only hit backhands, but when either player receives a short ball, they have to attack down the line with the backhand to try and win the point. This drill will prevent the player hitting short balls, and the player will start to develop to read the opponent's next shot, will allow them to gain an advantage in a match. Session 2 will be a progression of circuit 1 by increasing the number of reps and rotations. It will consist of the same 6 stations with no equipment needed, which are the plank, the obliques, the bridge, the squat, the lunge and the sit-up. The teaching point of the plank is to make sure the core is tense, the back is straight and the feet are together. Each station will now last 45 seconds and completed 3 times, which is a progression from the first time. As muscular endurance is being worked, there will be a work to relief ratio of 1:1, as this will delay onset of blood lactic acid and muscular fatigue during competition, and therefore they'll be able to play at higher intensity because their lactate threshold will have increased. In drill 2, competition has been used between the 2 players because the drive theory states that as arousal increases, performance increases. This will improve the performer's game, as in many occasions they'll play important and competitive matches. Verbal guidance may be given, as the performer will now have the correct mental image of the skill, and therefore guidance on tactics and positional play can be given, which will improve the player's understanding of the game. The plank is an isometric contraction, meaning the muscles contract but don't change length. This is being used because it creates tension as it pulls on the tendons and helps maintain good posture. Negative feedback will be used to negatively reinforce any mistakes during the game, as it will make the performer clear about which aspects of the performance will require improvement. However, only every now and then, as the player might become demotivated if used too often. Final week of the program, week 8. Drill 1 will be a conditioning game, tie breaks to 10 of backhand down the line. Every time the ball hits the net, not only does the player lose the point, the opposition gains a point. This will reinforce the player not to make mistakes and also develop the understanding of attacking down the line. Drill 2 will be a conditioning game where players play a tie break of 20 points. If they hit a winner of their backhand cross court, they get 3 points, and if they hit a winner down the line with their backhand, they get 5 points. The rest of the players in the group will stand and watch to act as an audience whilst they play to replicate some match scenarios. This will encourage the performer to be confident with their backhand and start to use it as a weapon to attack with, which is one of the aims of the training program. Session 2 will be circuit 2, a progression of circuit 2, and will still be targeting muscular strength, the arms, chest, back and shoulders. The same 7 stations of free weights will consist, but this time there'll be 8 reps of each station, but at 85% of their 1 rep max, completed 3 times, which is a progression from the previous circuit. Teaching point of a bicep curl is to have the core tense, chest out, elbows tucked in and no swinging. During drill 1, negative reinforcement is used to promote the desired response, which is not to hit the net. This will encourage the player to make less errors in the match. Drill 2 is performed in the presence of others, which is known as social facilitation. If a performer gets used to training with an audience, they may remove the threat of an audience in future performances, which allow them to selectively attend the relevant cues and prevent social inhibition. The use of a Magnus force is used to accelerate a backhand drive by applying topspin. This occurs because of a pressure gradient on opposing surfaces of the spinning ball. Topspin causes there to be high pressure on top because friction is high and low pressure on the bottom. This causes air travel from a high gradient to low gradient, causing a shortening of the flight path. This week is the end of the mesocycle, so a test will be formed to see if the player has made progression.